like that.
When did you meet Stack? How did you meet Stack?
I met Stack one time at Babalu's. He had on a big blue fur. And he came, ran down on me like, yo, my name's Stack, pulling on from the back. Yo, just talking, man, aggressive. I'm like, who boy? They, you know, he was like, cool. And then I heard a record on the radio. Hello, you love Cam and that Dipset. I know you don't love me. I know you don't love me. Remember he did that freestyle?
Yeah.
And I was like,
no, you don't love me. What mine's under the threshold?
This, who is this? I like this young man. And I'm like, oh, that's the same young man from the Babalu. And they were like, yo, he down with Desert Storm and all this type of shit. I'm like, well, guess what? Tell him pull up to the studio. I got a proposition for him.
Just like that.
He pulled up. And he left the studio Bird Gang.
Off that one record you heard on the radio.
It wasn't the radio. I think it was.
You said you heard on the radio.
He did a freestyle to the 50 Cent record, and Flex was playing all his music. It was the
The
Rock.
threshold.
It was the Rock. I kept hearing the Rock, and I'm like, is this Rock a Rockefeller artist? Because he was saying the Rock. I didn't know what it was and shit like that.
Right.
And I was like, this is vicious. Then I remember he said, I know you love Cam and that Dipset. I know you don't love
down, respect the mind click.
I know you don't love me. I know you don't love me. I was like, nah, enough is enough. Find him. And they was like, yo, he Desert Storm and all. I'm like, well, what is they doing with him? Like, they
hold on now.
Who is bugging?
Be easy. Be easy. Just stop. Easy.
What happened?
Easy. Like, come on. You just can't be just talking about other people's deals. Let's worry about yours. All right.
I'm telling you what went on. I'm like, what the is Clue doing? This is too hot. He is the next thing. Like, you're bugging.
Did you get on the phone with Clue and talk to Clue about it, or you just did some old school 93?
I ended up speaking to Clue after Stack spoke to him and shit like that. It was a brief conversation and shit like that. You dig?
You still say you did. So you kept it brief. Was it brief, or did you it was an understanding amongst men, basically?
Yeah, it was cool. It wasn't never no turmoil or any of that type. It just was a decision that Stax had made at the time that he felt would be beneficial to his career, which it was. You know, you was there. You was on tour. You know where we was moving to. You know what Stax was about to do. He was front line. He was about to shine.
Well, let me say this real quick. So people got mad at me because they said I interviewed an ex-member. And I feel like the picture that was painted of you is wrong. And let me it's going to be a little long-winded, but allow me. A lot of people thought that, you know, when you went independent and when you had it, that you just made it really look good. And a lot of people don't, I mean, you had it, but you made it look good. And a lot of people don't know that you really extended yourself to a lot of individuals that came out there. So when I hear these stories, and Bino get mad all the time about it, one of the things is that, you know, I interviewed JhaJha, and she said those stuff, and people were upset at me, like, Phil, how you gonna let JhaJha talk about Jim like that? And stuff like that, but I was correcting the things of what
she had a bit of a bitter soul and a lot of misplaced anger, so I'm not even mad at her and shit like that from looking back at retrospect like that, like you used to say. I felt she could express whatever she wanted a little bit different, because as you know, I made sure that all of y'all was good, as I sent for a lot of y'all from Far Rock to come to meet up with Stax, plane tickets, all type of shit. So you know how I was moving. I made sure everybody was moving on one accord, not to mention all the energy that I started putting into her and the money I started putting into her, from the videos to the balling and all this type of shit. Like
drinking on.
Just like, you know what I mean? Like, so, but we gotta talk about that. It happens, man. It's part of the history, man. I mean, did she do that wrong in my opinion? Yeah. I believe, do I think she would have been a successful person in the music industry? Wholeheartedly. You know what I mean? But I think that the death of Stax and the death of Holly at that time, and there was a lot going on. It's kind of spooked out her socks and shit like that, and then everything was going on with the kid Max and him getting locked up. It was just a lot. I mean, so.
But this is the thing about it, and I want to say this. The problem is, when she was on the show, she had said that she had heard about you wasn't giving Stack money, but people don't know that when Stack asked you for the bread, you were going to the bank. I think the bank was closed. Something happened, because me and Bino talked about it. I remember being there, and you was going to give him
more money after the money he spent, because we was on tour. He like, oh, geez, I spent all that tour money, geez, I'm Pop, I bug it. Whatever he did, brought another Porsche, BMW. He like, yo, Pop, geez, you said closed mouth don't get fed, geez, I'm Pop, geez, I'm hurting.
It's a fact.
And what I told him, I said, yo, go get 25 grand from the bank tomorrow. He like, oh, yo, what's up with that Wrangler truck? I'm like, I left that shit in Brooklyn. I don't even want that shit. I don't even know what block it's on. Matter of fact, it's by the car shop where I got the Maserati from. He like, you let me get that, G's. I'm like, go take it. You probably got to get a new key. He like, oh, I'm going to go get that tomorrow, G's. You different, G's. And we all know the rest of the story.
Why do you think that people have this misconception of what happened? Why do you think even her? Why do you think that? Where did that come from?
Nobody likes to hear the truth.
Because we were there. Bino get mad all the time, and he gets offended. And he was one of the people that called me. He was like, "That's not true." They think that what they think is that Stack asked you. He told you he wanted to leave. They said that Stack told you he wanted to leave. He wanted to move, and you didn't move him out. But that's not true.
You don't want to hear. You want to hear that story? All right. For Stacks and them, I was about to buy Stacks, the kid Max and Melly, a whole brownstone in New Jersey. None of them wanted to leave the hood, and I was not about to waste my money. And that was what I offered them. I went shopping for the shit and all that type of shit.
Yeah, we remember that, right, Bass? We remember that. Shout out to Bass. We remember the conversation.
I mean? And I'm like, yo, you bugging. You want to, like, you could go to the hood every day, but you're going to be living in Jersey. Like, you're going to be living better than, you heard? And you don't have to worry about paying for no rent or nothing like that. I'm just trying to get you niggas out the hood. Melly, too. And Melly ended up getting shot, right? Like none of these niggas would listen, and everything that happened that you know can happen in the hood end up happening and shit like that. You know what I mean? But everything to try to protect them for what I know could have happened to them, I tried. You heard? From getting all of these cars to getting all these, everything. You can imagine everything. Private jets, Miami, hundreds of thousands in one weekend, 2 tour buses, Atlanta. Like, cannot front on how I had my boys moving. And I'm only talking about this because you was there, and you and Stacks were best friends, or Bino, couple others and shit like that. Other than I don't even talk to people about Stacks and what went on, but we was sending out. This was not on our level when we was moving, in no way, shape, or form. And we was bullying and doing what we wanted to do, and that's wholeheartedly. And when no rappers could tell me nothing, I don't give a who you ask. I don't care who you say was a tough guy at that time. It wasn't tough enough. And you could go down the line and go ask him. So all the shit that niggas be talking about right now, them niggas can eat something, bro. Like, you niggas is puppies to me, bro. Like, I just be sitting back laughing. Like, you niggas would not like me to go backwards at all. You heard? I'm not going to, but you niggas could not fuck with me on no levels when I was outside moving on the court, especially now Bird Gang. And I mean that from every level. You heard? Like, and everybody knows that, bro. Like, this is not rocket science. It's not, what? Nobody did what I did in this city and how I did it in this city. I don't care about what everybody else did. I did mine the way I wanted to do mine, and I did what the I wanted. And anybody beg to differ, tell them holla at me. I did what I wanted in this city. Am I proud of it? Not too much. But that was a time that I was doing something that I thought was called for, and it worked for me. You heard? Mm-hmm. But when you talk about sensationalizing what you do, like, I could go all day and tell you some wild shit. You heard? I could run down the line of all your favorite rappers about how these don't be tough, bro.
Do you feel like by you not talking, because you really don't care, I guess, right? He doesn't care. Shooter, a lot of people that know Capo, Black, and because I remember. Let me just say this to the people that don't know. Bino and I drove to Miami with about 400 ecstasy pills in the trunk. In a Honda, and then we went to Miami in the. So he was gonna fly Bino and them out there. Mm-hmm. Yo, get on the plane. He said whoever else. I think he had 2 more tickets. Now, Bino said that I couldn't make it at that time because something with Webb and them. So Bino said I'm gonna drive down with you. So we switched to Honda. We drove halfway, then we got into the Scion. So I remember going there, and I remember us being in the place. That's when me and Stack last time in Miami, but we was arguing there, and then, but I remember watching Jim how he showed love to everybody, and he walked the streets with everyone. So sometimes I get offended because, and I'm arguing with people, and that's why, and I get mad at Bino, like, why you don't speak like you was there more than me? I watched Jim. I watched them invite me to the Shore Club, and I'm in there. Solange is in there. I'm jumping in the water. I'm jumping in the water, splashing. Like, who was this? I was in Rick James. I met Rick James' daughter, Todd James, through Bino. I went upstairs. I Rick James. Like, I remember these things.
I was treating the Shore Club like it was a condo.
Exactly. Talk about it.
I didn't stay nowhere else. We didn't stay nowhere else but the Shore Club.
But here's the question to you: do you feel like by you not talking and people have this issue with you that you leave everybody? Why do you let people come up with these stories? All this sound preposterous, especially. And I told y'all this, like, and you just don't say nothing. You could just easily nip it in the bud with niggas that was there. We seen it. Of course. I feel like people, and I told Hassan Campbell this when I interviewed him. I feel like people put too much on Capo. They don't realize. Yeah, you would sit there, Dice? Yeah. Sit next to Capo. I feel like people don't realize that my man was doing a lot. This nigga was flying mad outside. He was paying for the hotels. He was doing everything. What did y'all expect him to do? And what budget did you think my man had? And on top of that, he was following. Like, it was like 17 people out there plus they mans. No, for real. So, and I just don't. I kind of blame you for it.
I was doing $250,000 on the weekend sometimes with these little because there be so many of us. 20 hotel rooms in the Shore Club, like that. Renting condos in Miami for these for 31 days. Renting mansions for Miami in these 31 days. These guys had luxuries beyond belief, and I did that because I knew where I came from in this game. These niggas didn't do nothing for me. You heard? Like these. They always said the game was to be told, not sold. I was like, what? I mean, to be sold, not told. I was like, what? I'm putting my on there. Everything I know about this. Me mobbing in this. You heard? We coming through in this moment.
But why you don't say nothing? That's the point I'm trying to ask you. Why do you let them run with that narrative? The narratives is what make the people come up with these perceptions, which is not true. So I'm arguing that you're not saying anything. By no arguing, you're not saying anything.
I was told a long time ago, the less you talk, the more they listen.
The less you talk, the more they listen. So you'll let people run with a
like that fly shit, right?
I remember. Hold on, that joke, you cracking joke. I remember when.
It's serious.
But let's keep. A lot of people don't know about this, but let me just share a story. Let me share a story with y'all. I remember when Chinx came home, rest in peace. He went to Jim's studio. Mm-hmm. And he's sitting next to, and Bino got mad at him after that, and I remember being there. But Chinx is sitting next to Capo. Capo's sitting there, and he had a stack painting. So, and Capo's being understanding, so Chinx asking him, hey, what's up with my man? Capo look around. And he started, didn't say too much, but how much he cared about Stack and stuff like that. And he asked him again, and Capo got up and walked away. Like that. Like, now you don't have to explain nothing, right? You don't have to explain nothing. But I remember Bino being mad at like, why would you do that? Like, you don't know what's going on. And it's because Capo allowed these narratives to be painted and not say nothing. Now, of course, you just come over prison, you have no right to ask me questions in my studio. Rest in peace to my brother. And we always laughed about that and talked about that. Capo just got up. Capo wasn't. He used to laugh about it. I mean, Capo just got up because he did. He asked him twice.
Because he just came home. I was letting him live. More sense to live, not like I was letting him live, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah,
I was giving him some grace like that. I know he didn't understand what he was saying like that. He didn't know he was definitely in the devil's den at that time. So I was just like, you dig? And that was the last conversation I had with him. I remember him being trapped in the elevator with us. God bless him and shit like that. Mm-hmm. And it was so uncomfortable for him. And in that situation, I said, nah, you good. I'm not gonna do nothing to you. Straight. You heard? Like, strength and stacks, you good. But that was when we was in the height of the whole French Montana.
Yeah. But he said that. He said I was in the elevator. He said that. He said they almost got me one time. He said that. He talked about that. That's one thing about Chinx. Rest in peace to my brother.
Almost. If we wanted him, we would have ate him up. You heard? But I told him.
All right, easy.
You heard? Like, you good.
Easy.
Like,
but what I'm saying, when I say almost, meaning like it's a figure of speech. Obviously, you go into an elevator, you somewhere, you see somebody that in the height of something, and but that would have looked.
I told him, bro, you good, bro. I told him, you good. You straight, bro. He walked in the elevator with 7 of us.
He said that. He talked about it.
You heard? He said, "What's up, Capo?" And I said, "You good? You straight?" He turned around and just waited for him to get off the elevator, and he got out the elevator. But I did that on the strength of Stacks, because I know how much Stacks loved him. Stacks used to call that nigga. He used to call Stacks every day while we was on tour and put me on the phone with him and shit like that. You heard? So when he came home at that time, it had threw me off that day, and I was like, and I'm looking at niggas face, I'm like, all right, you know what, I'm gonna go sit down.
I remember that.
Get out of there, because I already see the look that niggas is giving, and I'm like, no, let me go in the studio and just not even act, because I know where I go, niggas gonna follow.
Do you feel like it was just a come home thing, like a come home of hearing different things?
I don't know what it was. I never had a chance to have a conversation with him.
Got it.
You heard?
Got it.
I would have thought that it would have been way different when he did that day he was
You
coming.
said that. I remember Bino talked about it. And you just got up. So the got up and walking away was just mostly like Stack. He was thinking about, because he was asking about Stack, and I remember, like I said, Bino and him, Bino telling him that, nah, man, that's not, you know. But I blame you once again. I blame you for allowing these narratives to be painted.